But obviously I do have some regrets, and that includes not being able to do more to stop a hard Brexit. That has been hugely damaging for our city and country, and I regret not challenging more robustly those who are determined to talk down our city, stoke division for their own political gain, and deny the progress we've made.
Dearie me, 10 years, and that's what you say. When you first started, you said that the safety of Londoners was your #1 priority. Quite right, and so it should be. So why have you failed so spectacularly to increase police numbers in London? You now have 400 fewer police officers than you inherited as mayor.
Well, that's not quite right.
No, it is.
That's not quite right, Chair. The number of officers at the end of the financial year for which the previous mayor was responsible is less than the officers we have now, and police staff as well. And that's a consequence of the government, the previous government, cutting a third of core funding of the Met Police Service, £1.2 billion. So as a consequence, what we've had to do, despite opposition from some in the Assembly, is to raise council tax precept, the policing precept, and also use business rates to fill the massive hole left by central government cuts. And that's one of the reasons why we've been able to see the progress we've made in terms of homicides, knife crime, burglaries, gun crime, and the like.
Yeah, you have indeed increased the precept. So we're all paying a lot more for less officers, yet we've got at least 500,000 extra people in London. Crime is building up. Let me have a look. Robbery has gone up 43%, 25% increase in knife crime, 61% increase in sexual offences since you've been there. Yet you keep telling us you're putting more money into it. We're going down to less officers than ever. And yet when there was a Conservative government, you insisted that you needed 38,000 police officers and that you were aiming for that because you knew that's what we needed. Yes, we do. Now, apparently, you've got the golden opportunity, to quote yourself there, for Londoners with the Labour government being in charge. Well, it's not a golden opportunity. It's been a complete and utter disaster, hasn't it, Mr. Mayor, with your completely and utterly disastrous Labour government. All I know now is we've got fewer officers on the street. You've just been talking to one of my colleagues that there's 350 people a day helping with the crisis in Brent for the Jewish community. They're coming from existing officers. That's no good. We haven't got enough officers. We need more officers. And it's no good just throwing a little bit of money at that now. We need their core budgets increased so that police have got confidence to go out and employ more officers, because that, I'm telling you, is what we need.
So, Chair, there are 3 areas raised by the member. 1 is investment from City Hall officers. 2 is crime stats since 2016, and 3 is crime stats since the new Labour government was elected. Let me deal with each in turn. So from City Hall, we've more than doubled the investment in the police from the previous mayor. It was less than £600 million from the previous mayor. It's more than £1.2 billion now, so more than doubling of investment from City Hall, and that's paying for 1,300 officers that otherwise wouldn't be funded, PCSOs and the extra. And we've also increased neighbourhood police teams, really important to fighting crime, and increased the number of police staff as well. The second area raised by the member was crime since 2016. Well, crime since 2016, violence with injuries down by 13%. That's a reduction of 10,020 offences. Burglary is down by 31%. That's a reduction of 21,309 offences. Homicide is down by 15%. Gun crime is down by 57%, 147 fewer offences. Theft from a vehicle is down by 12%, a reduction of 5,877 offences. The member then goes on to talk about the golden opportunity of a Labour government. So let's look at the crime figures since we had a Labour government over the last 12 months. Overall crime continues to fall year on year across London. Neighbourhood crime shows strong reduction. Personal theft down by 13%. Theft from person down by 22%.
We're talking about the last 10 years, Mr. Mayor.
Chair, bicycle theft down by 8%. Residential burglary of a home down by 6%.
You're cherry picking.
Down by
no, stop this,
3%.
because you only ever cherry pick. Don't give that look to me. You cherry pick. We're looking at the last 10 years. We have 400 fewer officers than when you took over in the last 10 years. Overall crime is up nearly a quarter since you took over 10 years ago. Record amounts of money, you say, is going into it. Well, clearly that's not value for money then, is it? It's not value for money at all. Labour's idea so often is, oh, let's throw money at it and it'll be all right. Well, no, it's not. It's very, very poor return for the money of Londoners' money, and you are failing to keep them safe. So would you like to apologise to Londoners for not keeping them safe, Mr Mayor, with your 10-year legacy?
Well, Chair, let's deal with this 10-year legacy. In terms of police officer numbers, at the end of the financial year, for which the last mayor was responsible, we had 31,049 police officers, 31,049. At the end of 25, we had 33,013. At the end of the next year, 27, we will still have 31,181 officers more than the previous mayor. Let's look at police staff. At the end of the last year, for which the previous mayor was responsible,
38,000 is what you wanted.
Chair, you can't ask a question and then heckle when somebody's answering. At the end of the last financial year, for which the previous mayor...
But they're not accurate figures, Mr Mayor. I think we should stop here because you
she wants to stop now. She wants to stop because the answers are what she likes.
I'll publish these figures and it'll just show how dreadful you are. Thank you, Chairman.
Maybe she stand for mayor.
Oh, do you know what? I knew you'd say that. And you know what it is? He's really upset that nobody's asked him to give up being mayor here so he can go and be the new Prime Minister. You're just going to have to get over it, Mr Mayor.
Andy, not Sadiq.
Yes. Let's try and pull this ship back on course, shall we? Assembly Member Turrell, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, Mr Mayor. Under your mayorage over the last 10 years, key transport projects have descended into shambles. The Elizabeth line, which you inherited on time and on budget, ended up being over 3 years late and £4 billion over budget. New rolling stock on the DLR, late, £35 million over budget. New Piccadilly line trains, late, £409 million over budget. Just from these projects alone, that's more waste, more money lost to mismanagement than the entire cost of the West London Orbital and the Bakerloo line extension. So, Mr Mayor, under your decade leadership, why have so many projects descended into calamity, and what are you going to do to get a grip?
Let's deal with each of the projects he's mentioned in turn, because it's really important we do justice to the great work done in London. So, compared the Elizabeth line, for which I've been responsible over the last 3-4 years, to High Speed 2. The previous government responsible for 14 years. The Elizabeth line is open, 800,000 journeys a day since we took it over from Cross-Shoal Limited, on budget and on time. The most successful rail line in the country, taking passengers and commuters of other lines as well. The Northern Line extension, I was responsible for since 2016, on budget, on time, incredibly successful. We've also managed to have the Barking Riverside extension at London Overground, my project from the beginning, on budget, on time. Silvertown Tunnel, we were told it would never happen, on budget, on time, completely under my jurisdiction since taking over in terms of cost. Rolling stock has been rolled out to the DLR and Piccadilly line. One of the reasons we've got problems in Transport for London is a decision taken by the previous government to remove operating grant and a massive cut in capital grant. What we've got from this government, a doubling of investment in capital in TfL, but also for the first time in more than a decade, a multi-year deal to the tune of, on average, £550 million a year. Add to that the night tube. Previous mayor promised it, couldn't do it. We did it within a few months of me being elected mayor. The Superloop, Conservatives opposed it. We've done it. They're now lobbying for more Superloop buses. Bakerloop, going for an extension of the Bakerloo line extension. We've now got a deal from this government. The previous government said no for 8 years to the Docklands Light Railway to be extended to Thames. To the point, the member's now lobbying for it to go to his patch. The Bakerloo line extension and the Docklands Light Railway and the West London Orbital to be improved across London are projects we believe in, and working with the government to get progress on those.
Thank you. The point of correction from the Mayor's previous answer, actually, I'm very much on the record of not wanting the Bakerloo line to come to Hayes in Bromley because of the disruption it will cause to people's travel there. and I've lobbied the Mayor to make changes to that scheme. But I do love how he clearly believes in the daily affirmation of if you say something enough, it becomes reality, because the reality is that the projects he has managed have all descended into calamity. In 2024, in your manifesto, you promised Londoners that together with a Labour government, there's no limit on what you can achieve. Yet 2 years on, all you've achieved is more borrowing. Do you accept, Mr. Mayor, that had so many of these projects not descended into calamity, had you not lost more money to mismanagement than the cost of doing the West London Orbital and doing the Bakerloo line extension, that you would be more successful in lobbying governments to fund these critical upgrades?
I mean, I'm the first mayor in the history of mayoralties that's brought the running costs of TfL down year on year. They had a deficit up until 2017. I'm the first mayor that's brought TfL into surplus. Not happened under his hero Boris Johnson or the mayor before him as well. We've also managed to get from this government, he talks about the government, the largest multi-year settlement for London in over a decade, almost doubling of annual capital funding for a TfL, and the government giving the green light to the DLR extension to Thamesmead, helping to create 10,000 new jobs. And I was able to announce, because of our fantastic record, just over 10 days ago, the weekend hopper coming this summer holidays, or as I like to call it the Whopper. I'm sure when he takes advantage of the Whopper during the 6 weeks summer holidays, he'll also be saying that's down to Calamity Khan.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you.
So it was the creation of the earth, wasn't it?
Thank you. Assembly Member Georgiou, please.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor. I missed you over this prolonged break. It's good to see you again. Mr. Mayor, under your failed decade as Police and Crime Commissioner of our great city, shoplifting has gone up by 94%. Theft from person has gone up by 146%. Public order offences have gone up by 24%. Robbery has gone up by 43%. Do you think this explains why the boss of M&S said that you do not have a grip on policing and are not prioritising policing?
But Chair, can I park for a second the knockabout on stats, because you raised a very important point about shoplifting. It is a serious issue. So I'll come back I can have the knockabout stuff in a little while if he wants to. It is serious. I've spoken to retail workers who've been assaulted, shopkeepers who have stopped reporting it now because they think, what's the point in reporting it? And it affects the relationship we have with law and order and a sense of unfairness. And we've got to get a grip on the issue of shoplifting. Other things as well, personal theft, personal robbery is also an issue. We can come to that as well as you want. And so I want to address this in the way it deserves, which is it is a problem. We're addressing this. Over the last year, we've changed, the police have changed how they respond to this, which has led to some improvements, not enough. We need to make more improvements here as well. Can I give you some examples of the stuff we need to improve on? The police must respond to every complaint made of shoplifting. In the past, they weren't, and they've accepted that. They're going to do that. And there was a chicken and egg situation. The shops weren't reporting it because the police weren't responding. The police weren't, and so that's a big problem for everyone, and crime carries on. We had examples. I've been to an operation where individually shoplifter steals only a small amount from a shop, but cumulatively over a few days, that's like thousands of pounds. So you've got to take action even on a small amount. Shop workers have been assaulted and traumatised, affects their family, affects themselves. We think that technology can help us here in terms of swift reporting of crimes virtually from a shop, but also when there's CCTV, the success rate of a charge and conviction is massive. So we're trying to encourage shops to invest if they can and share the CCTV with the police if they can as well.
Mr. Mayor, I understand your approach, and we won't go for the knockabout, and we will take it seriously because you've responded in an appropriate way. Look, everything you've just said is fine for the big boys and girls that can afford it. We have 1 million small businesses in London, which are the backbone of our economy. You get a lot of money for them in business rates. Local authorities get a lot of money from them in business rates. And what is happening is, sadly, effectively, shoplifting and the various other offences attached to it have been decriminalised in London. So, you know, with the greatest respect, and you can respond in any way that you see fit, of course, it's all well and good saying these things now. You have been Mayor of London for 10 years. I'm not saying that other cities are not immune to these sorts of occurrences, but in London it seems to be a particular problem. So rather than talking about technology and what the big operators and shops and businesses can do, can you just please respond on a way the Met can respond to support smaller businesses, of which there are 1 million in London?
Yeah. So, firstly, he's right to remind all of us this is a nationwide problem. I speak to USDOR regularly, the trade union who represents shop workers across the country, small, medium and large. And this is an issue across the country. The disturbances we saw in Birmingham were the same week as we saw issues in Clapham. So it's a nationwide issue. So the good news is because of our investment in policing and because of the Commissioner's focus on neighbourhood policing, they're having a conversation with the one-person shopkeeper that weren't having before, giving good crime advice, giving good preventative advice. Actually, a lot of those corner shops, retail high street shops, do have the technology. They do invest in CCTV. They do have panic buttons, and they do know they do now know the neighbourhood police officer on first name terms. They also, a lot of them have great business improvement districts that work
But I'm
with
sorry
the police
to interrupt you, Mr. Mayor. That doesn't necessarily work. You know, if you look at the area I represent, Cockfosters, you know, very tidy high street, but we've only got about 3-4 ward officers, and there's a constant turnaround. So the problem is, and they're on shift patterns, so you can't always reach out to a local officer to have those conversations. So look, I'll leave it there, but the one thing that I would say, and perhaps you can put it in writing, is a way forward that you could see possibly for a change in legislation to crack down on shoplifting and possible future actions and powers the government can give you and the Met to tackle this more appropriately.
I can answer this two ways. Firstly, the government's listened to some of our requests in terms of the threshold before the £200 summary trial issue, but also the powers that the police have to go in. Can I make an offer to him? I'm really happy for the police to listen to him in terms of his councillor experience and what shopkeepers are telling him about what more the police can do to reassure them in relation to the challenges he's raised. And I'm sure the police will be more than happy to meet with him to take on board his ideas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Assembly Member Best, please.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Mayor. After the awful losses that Labour suffered in London in the local elections, well, I think fantastic, but I'm sure they were awful for you. You let out a statement saying, I keep hearing anger, disillusionment and disappointment, and the direction of that anger, disillusion and disappointment is at the Labour government. Are you seriously, after everything we've heard today, everything we've heard for the past 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years, not going to take any responsibility at all? You're not going to have any self-reflection? Because I can tell you one thing I heard on the doors, it was get Sadiq Khan out.
Yeah, she said that in 2016, 2021 and 2024 as well, and look where that ended up. Look, let me be quite clear. We've got some
Sorry, you don't think that anybody wants you out? You don't think you're the problem?
We've had some great councillors and great councils who've lost their seats, and the councils have changed political party, and I think through no fault of those individual councillors and the performance of those councillors. And I think a lot of the votes on May the 7th, in any way taken away from the successes of the other parties, was because of people's views about national government. And I think you've got to reflect when it comes to...
I agree. People think the national government are awful too.
On,
but the question is you. No, sorry, I just need to help him focus his attention. I know it's difficult, but focus on the question in hand. We all understand that the government are rubbish. I think there's wide agreement now that that's the case. I'm asking, do you take culpability that you've also been a bit rubbish too?
Well, Chair, I mean, why doesn't she stand to be the next Conservative candidate for the mayoral elections? I mean, let's test that theory out.
Well, if you're standing, I'd do a great job. But I think you might be gone, mightn't you? Isn't it Dawn Butler wants the job next time? Anyway, the point of the matter is it is serious. There's a litany of failures here. And this is a perfect point for you to self-reflect on the fact that Londoners can't afford to live because house building's gone down 84% and you've missed every target for affordable housing. Londoners can't go to their front counters at police stations to report crime. They see less officers because there's 420 less than when you took charge. Their buses keep on terminating because you've brought the streets to gridlock. The trains keep on terminating because you haven't invested in new stock. They're seeing the reality of this every day. And I'm asking you, do you take any culpability for the losses of last week? It's a very, very simple question. Do you take any culpability for the losses of last week?
Chair, we've had a 1.5 minute simple, serious question. I hope you give me at least a minute and a half to give a serious, simple answer. So I'm really proud, and I've reflected on my decision to say no when they said don't clean up the air, for me to clean up the air. They said no, don't bring in policies that will clean the air in London, that will reduce kids with stunted lungs, reduce adults with asthma, cancer, dementia, heart disease, and I'm really proud, and I've reflected on that. I've reflected on the Conservative candidate running to be mayor saying there shouldn't be free school meals in primary schools, and I said, no, I will do that. We've now delivered more than 120 million free school meals, saving an average family with one child £500. I reflected on the fact that I've more than fivefold increased the amount of money we invest in rough sleeping. They voted against our budget. We've taken 20,000 people off our streets because of our investment. I reflected on that. It was the right thing to do to reject the Conservative Party saying I shouldn't do that. They said no to council housing. No council housing.
You're making up a lot of lies. That says, I'm sorry, but lies is the only word we can define it. We have never said that we're opposed to any of those things, apart from you, Les, which we definitely were, and I stand by lies, so that is a lie, he knows it. It is sheer arrogance. It's pig-headed arrogance. It's pig-headed ignorance that you can't take any responsibility for what's happening in London. You must take people out there for daft tuna. They are looking at the stats. They can see what's going on. It's arrogance. You're sitting there and you won't even self-reflect. You're happy to blame everybody else, but not you. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, I do accept responsibility.
It was a flourish, not a question.
If only it was a flourish. I do, Chair, reflect.
Well, we're still waiting to see one from you.
The Elizabeth line, the night tube, the Superloop, more zero-emission buses, more cycling. They oppose that. The hopper bus fare, the weekend hopper, and I could go on. And I'm just disappointed that on a serious issue like Mayor's Question Time, there should be this nonsense about reflections when I'm really proud of, over the last 10 years, the things we've achieved and even more ambitious for the next 10 years.
Thank you.
What does repeat Mayor's Question Time's for? Are we not supposed to scrutinise his record? I thought that's what...
Thank you.
Yeah, but...
Right.
I'm just confused that he...
Talking of...
we should scrutinise his record.
Thank you. Thank you. That's enough.